Start recording. Yeah, so I'm here with my assistant Vallerie. She's a, she does all the back end work for me. She's a expert marketer, and she does trade shows and all kinds of crazy stuff. So if you need help talking to people or setting up accounts, or she's done a lot of work with people all the way up to CEOs of giant companies like Pfizer and lots of things in the medical field. So she brings a lot of expert advice that if you're afraid of dealing with people, she might be able to help you out in that area. But today what we're going to talk about is finding ways to source that, might not be what you're used to. The other groups aren't going to be talking about it. They talk down on what I personally do, and that's okay because I don't want everybody doing it. But, you should definitely be looking into doing it. We're talking about doing groceries liquidation, finding scratch and dent liquidation stores, all the things that you wouldn't think to do. The places that are in bad neighborhoods that you're going to be afraid to go to, thrift stores, what I call retail liquidation, are the places that have all the stuff that we want liquidated, and discontinued items are what sell for the most amount of money because you can't find them anywhere else. So if you can't find them, then you're going to go find them on Amazon or eBay or wherever you want to be selling. I just want to get out, the shameless self-promotion out of the way. I have a book coming out. We're going to do 20% off for all the ACE members. If anybody hasn't bought the book, they want to buy it, we'll post a link in the chat. And I also have a private Facebook group, and it's $50 a month. There's about 100 people on the waiting list, but it's already so cheap, we can't really do a discount, and there's so many people wanting to get in. But if anybody wants to get in from ACE, just message me or Vallerie Wonders, and we'll put you to the head of the list. We can add you right away. As far as that, we have a grocery group, that probably everybody's in. That's completely free. And we talk about a lot of grocery and liquidation, and I believe I'll post it's ACEMASTERMIND is the code for the pre-sale for the book. You get it for about $12 when it goes on sale. On the 5th of next month, it's going to be $27. So it's a pretty significant discount. I posted that privately. All right, so let's get into how we source, and we source at retail locations as far as grocery stores. Mostly we do bundling, we do multi-packs, we do whatever sells. I'm not big on finding locations and creating products. There's so much in the Amazon catalog as far as grocery that usually anything that's popular is already selling. I know that Sam does things differently with clothing, and when we source clothing at places like Ross, we create listings. But as far as what we do with liquidation and grocery, I sell what already sells. So we find good selling products, at retail, and we pay full retail price. We're going to, places like Walmart and Target and our local grocery chains. We have Winn-Dixie in Florida, but whatever you have in your area, you go in there and source. And when you source, you need to, everybody doesn't know every product. So you need to go in there and you have to source everything. So that doesn't mean the whole store, but you find something you think is going to sell, and you need to choose an aisle and choose one section of that aisle and scan everything on every shelf from the top all the way to the bottom. by the time you get done with one whole aisle, you're going to find a lot of products. And when we do that, we find lots of products on every shelf. And you want to look in areas of condiments and spices and local products. And the way we find local products is, either searching Google or looking at the labels. When you're scanning, look to see where those products are made. And then you can find all the other products that are in that line. And even if they don't sell them at that store, you can either contact the manufacturer or, source at other stores and look for those product lines. And then, we put them into singles or multi-packs or whatever's selling. And we don't buy anything that we can't at least double our money on. So a lot of people have a lot of lower expectations when selling, not buy anything under 50% or 30%. But we always run out of money before we run out of things to buy. So, this way has worked for us, and we're going to continue to do it until, it stops working, until we have more money than we can spend. And for most people, that's never going to happen. As far as doing liquidation, which is what most of the book that we wrote is on, what we're doing is we're buying, we're finding scratch and dent stores, which there's a giant list in our book, and it has locations in almost every state. And you don't have to look that way, you don't have to buy my book, but use Google. We use Google, we use Facebook to find all these locations, and it's really easy. Okay, Tom wants to know if we're just doing retail arbitrage. I assume is what he means by RA, or is this for, I think he's saying replens. So yes, of course, when we're not buying at liquidation, doing retail arbitrage, that is why you do it. We're at least doubling our money, but we're, it's all replenishable. Anything you go into a Walmart and you're not buying on clearance is probably going to be replenishable. So once you find these deals, once you spend hours and days scanning everything on these aisles, you can continue to buy them. We've had things that last over a year. Now, even replens are going to run out because other people find those products and jump on the listings. But, that's okay. You get 3, 6, or a year out of it, and you move on to something else. As far as the the liquidation, these scratch and dent stores, they're buying a whole truckload of liquidation, and we may only be able to use a little bit of it. So these are really the kind of places that you want. Most people look at a whole truckload of liquidation. Most of that we wouldn't want. A lot of it you could sell on eBay, and a little of it you could sell on Amazon. But what these stores are doing is they're buying the whole truckload, putting the stuff on the shelves, making up prices to put on it. And you can go in there and you can pick and choose what you want to buy. Now, of course, if it's there are some larger chains of them, but the smaller chains is who we like to deal with, because we go in there and we build relationships with these sellers. So what's going to happen is once we get, once we're able to figure out who the manager or owner is, and the owners are usually there. Once you go a few times, you can figure out who's actually in charge. And what we can do is build a relationship with them so they know what you're doing. This business isn't about hiding what you do. Share the information with as many people as you can. Friends, neighbors, anybody you tell them what you do and what you're looking for, and when they see one of these places, they're going to tell you about it. So once you build a relationship with them and let them know what you want, you know, it's the same with anybody that we deal with. They call you. If it's a little scratch and dent store or a liquidation company, or even a, you know, yard sales, couponers, people we meet on Craigslist, we tell them all what we do. And we have a huge amount of return business from these people that find deals for us and call us before they even buy them. Because this is the goal of dealing with all these kind of companies, is for them to come to you first. And when they know you're going to buy everything they have of any kind of product, they're going to call you before they even buy it sometimes. You know, building relationships, you know, finding these places on Facebook and following them are, you know, a great way to find. Facebook is good at finding similar products for you. So once you find these places on Facebook, you follow them, it'll start showing you other places. And we get a huge amount of business from scratch and dent stores. You know, you go in there, I'm sure most people have been into these stores, and you look at it and you say everything's expired, but really everything isn't expired. Just most of it is. And you only need to find a few products. You know, you have to remember, if you're going to a huge liquidator, these are the same, it's the same company, but they're just working on a smaller scale and selling to the end users. So what you see is not all they have. You know, they'll usually have another area for staging that you can find all of these products. You know, so they might have 10 out on the shelf, but there could be, you know, a ton of them in the back. And, you know, I've bought whole pallets of an item that I only seen a handful in the store. Great, Tom. Yeah, Tom found a $4 product that sells for $75. And we find a lot of high margin items. You know, we repeatedly are buying items that only cost a few dollars that we're making 10 or more times our money back on. So, you know, we're not just talking about a 50% ROI or 100% ROI. You know, many products are coming back, you know, with thousands of percentage ROIs on them. One thing we talk about a lot in my other groups is that, you know, finding couponers. Now, couponers are people who are like on the extreme couponing shows, and they, you know, they're using coupons to get items for free or close to free or making money back on that we can use. So we post ads on Craigslist. You know, we posted in multiple cities, dozens of ads every day to find couponers, to find businesses going out of business, and we can post some samples in the group. But it's basically looking for couponers, looking for cosmetics, looking for health and beauty items, groceries that to buy their stockpile. You know, they call it a stockpile. So what we're doing is we're finding these people and we're buying their stockpile. We go there, we look at what they have, or they send us pictures, you know, and they tell us either what they want or we tell them what we can give them for it. And it's, you know, it's usually, you know, $1, $2, 50 cents for, you know, for items that we can sell for $10 or more. They're getting this stuff for free, and they're usually housewives, and that's all that they do is do this. And sometimes they're selling them at yard sales on the weekends, and we look at all the yard sale ads, and it's pretty easy to find somebody who's doing this. And they just go out and they find all the things they can get for free. They're buying 10 or 20 or up to 100 newspapers every weekend just so they can find these deals. Have we ever found a product in a retail store that's doing well and went a step further to contact the manufacturer? Yes, we do. We do this, but there are problems with that. The main problem is if you find something at Walmart, you probably can't buy it from the manufacturer cheaper. You know, a few good examples. One of them is Peeps. Now, I tried to about a year and a half ago, I tried to buy Peeps, not last Halloween, but the year before. And they told me that, you know, the cheapest price I could get was 98 cents. And I had to buy at least a pallet. It came out to be about a pallet worth, which was, I don't remember, about 600 pounds. And if you know Peeps, they weigh 1 3/8 to like 1 7/8 per package. So they weigh next to nothing, and they wanted like 600 to 800 pounds of a purchase. And that was at 98 cents. You can buy them at Walmart for $1, you know, and then they wanted you to pay the shipping on top of that. And there was a giant minimum order. And we found that over and over with different products. And the products are usually cheaper buying at Walmart. Now, if you find something at a scratch and dent store or Big Lots or, you know, a regular store that doesn't have the buying power of Walmart, you might be able to buy them direct, cheaper. And if it's a smaller company, you might be able to find them at a cheaper price. And somebody asked about sharing the Craigslist ads we use. Yes, we will share the Craigslist ads. We already have a file created for our mastermind groups. So we'll post that in the ACE group as well. You know, they're very simple. They're straightforward. We buy and sell a lot of Lego. You know, even used Legos out of the box. We'll buy them by weight and resell those on Amazon. Sometimes put them together into sets and sell them that way. So we have that in there. We'll put classic collectible toys, health and beauty items, cosmetics, you know, grocery items, you know, anything that you could think of, anything that you would buy, we post those in ads. And we have 3 or 4 different ads that we use. We have created a great relationship with a nonprofit group who gets liquidation donated to them, and they create, they feed people in third world countries. You've probably seen them on the news where they're filling up the bags of food to feed 6 people you just add water to. There's lots of groups like this. So we posted a Craigslist ad looking for business liquidations, and they contacted us that way. And we bought a ton of product for a great price because they're getting it for free and they just don't want it in their warehouse. So there's just a ton of opportunities by dealing with people on Craigslist. You know, business liquidation is used. There's a whole section just for business. So we post these ads every day in different categories and different, you know, we have a few different Craigslist cities in our area. So we post ads in the different cities. And we have a whole list of different categories we use. And we use one of our virtual assistants that posts all those ads. They do it a couple times a day. They do it in the different cities, and they rotate the categories. So it's getting the best amount of coverage. As far as grocery liquidation, what we're doing is for grocery liquidation, you know, it's very hard because of expiration dates. So this is why we make use of the, you know, the low-end retail liquidation companies. And what we do with them is, you know, what we talked about, but I've been able to find a lot of liquidators that let me go in there, and I can go through their pallets and create my own pallets. And there's different levels of liquidation. You know, the worst is salvage, which is broken, and then there's returns, and shelf pulls are just items that get taken off of the shelves. And this is where we can make all our money. So when you have a shelf pull, that's every item has amount of time that you know, they can live on a shelf of the store, basically. So something might not have an expiration date for 3 years, but it only has 3 to 6 months that's on the shelf. So when it's time on the shelf, comes up, they take it off and they put it in a box in the back, and all those boxes go to their distribution center. And from the distribution center, it goes back to a liquidator because they don't send that product back to the manufacturer. All these big companies like Walgreens and Walmart and Target, they have contracts with the manufacturers to buy however much they've contracted to buy. So the product keeps coming to them, and what's on the shelves, if it doesn't sell, it has to go somewhere. So everything doesn't go onto the clearance. A lot of it just goes straight to the back, and it goes to the liquidators, and it's sold as what's called shelf pulls. And there's also overstocks, which are items that are at the liquidator, but it never gets to the store itself. And we've had great success buying products like that, which are usually full pallets, still sealed, that just never made it to a store because the stores weren't selling enough. So buying a grocery just does not have, you have to be very careful when you're doing that. Just one moment. So, this is the way that we find couponers is by posting these ads. Not only Craigslist, there's also another site called Backpage that you can that they post a lot on. And what most people don't do that we do is posting ads, in actual newspapers for for looking for these people to call us. We also look for all the garage sale ads. You don't have to go to these garage sales to find the people. Most of them have phone numbers posted. So what we do is we look for people that are selling, health and beauty products and things like this to go there. And then we just call them up, and we usually can make deals before the yard sales ever open just to go there. And then every couple of months, they'll call us up to find what we have available. And on top of that, they're contacting us, before they're buying products, or they're sending us pictures of the products, sending us pictures of the UPCs with whatever they might have available, or even before they buy the product. Was there any questions before we move on? Okay. The next thing I wanted to cover was how we how we find liquidators, and what we do with sourcing for liquidation companies in your area. And it's just as simple as using Google. I can't tell you enough how much we suggest people just get out and search for the products, because nobody's doing that. And once you create a contact with these places, find anything in your area. Don't worry about what they're selling, or if it's something you can use. Find anything in your area. Find every liquidator you can find, and create an account with them. Talk to their sales manager for 5 minutes and tell them what you want. And they're going to constantly be contacting you every time they have an available deal, because that's what they want to do, is move product. Not don't be afraid to get out and talk to people. Just tell them what you want, and they're going to bring the product to you. Vallerie, did you have anything to add to this? Because I'm not exactly sure what else I can cover if there's no more questions.
No, I think that I think I covered everything, but if anybody has questions, I mean, now's the time to ask. You know, if you have any challenges that you're facing, or you know, what issues that you're coming across, like, this is why we're here. So you know, don't hold back. If you think it's silly, if you think that, oh, it's a stupid question, it's not. So now would be the time. So Johnny just jumped on it. So what kind of info is covered in our book that you may not get from this group or in our private groups? You want to cover that?
Well, what's covered in our group is, you know, a list that we've spent about the last year trying to find as many, you know, scratch and dent type retail liquidation stores that we can, you know, across the U.S., and it's covering almost every state. So, you know, a good portion of the book is on that because there was no other groups actually covering how to find the places and, you know, the actual places to go to. Everybody just said, well, your hardest part is going to be to find the places, but nobody is giving the information on how to find the places. And we took it another step further. You know, we already had a good list, you know, from helping people in my groups and coaching to find those actual places. So everything we found, we were keeping track of, and we just took it to the next level and went out and found as much as we could in every state, called them to verify that they're open, you know, kept calling them, found, you know, Facebook addresses, their websites, their mailing addresses, phone numbers, you know, and even if you do find a list or find it on Google, always call ahead, because these places are literally just somebody buying a storefront, renting a place, and buying, you know, one truckload of store returns or whatever they are. So they go out of business a lot. So, you know, part of the book is that, and the other part is, you know, step by step about how to do liquidation, how to deal with liquidation, how to find, you know, how to find the places and how to move on from doing that. You know, there's plenty of, you know, groups and books and websites out there telling you how to sell on Amazon. So, you know, it's not an introductory book on how to sell on Amazon. It's how, you know, we as Amazon sellers took our business to the next level and are using liquidation and how to do it yourself. And
also to note is that we will be updating the book. So that's another something else that's really going to differentiate the book and make it stand out as well, because obviously it's constantly changing, and so we will be keeping on top of that as well. All right, Tom said he's in a small town. What options do you have? You want to cover that, or you want me to? Or?
Well, you know, just because you're in a small town, most of these stores are in small towns, but you don't know, you know, if there's anything in your town. You know, if you can't find anything, you know, ask around, ask, you know, friends, neighbors, local stores. You know, what we recommend is ask people if they know of a store that sells, you know, liquidation type items. A lot of good keywords to ask people are items that are not, you know, that are beat up or broken or dented or, you know, might even be expired, you know, and usually when you say those kind of words, you know, something comes to mind, you know, if it exists. But the best way is to find these places are word of mouth, because a lot of them do not advertise. You know, they just open a store and people start coming there.
Yeah, and Dawn and Diana both had really good questions. So we'll start with Dawn, or I'm sorry, yeah, Dawn. So when we get to general questions, with the large amount of groceries that we do, how do we track and manage our expiration dates, which it's not difficult at all?
Yeah, that's an easy one. We don't. We pay Amazon to do that, so I rely on them. I use Scan Power, of course, as everyone knows. So we do enter them, so we do get a notification.
Right.
We usually set it to 60 days before it expires. But in reality, tracking the items is not going to make me more money than not tracking them. Because if I'm sending in hundreds or thousands of items and I'm going to track each one in a spreadsheet, I can't know, for one thing, which ones are expiring, because I'm not going to sell out of one item with one expiration date before I send in a new expiration date. So you might have 2 or 3 or 10 or 20 different expiration dates on one product, and it's all mixed together. You're not supposed to use different MSKUs on Amazon because it'll create different listings. So if you send them in together, there's no way to differentiate which is which. Every item that's checked in on Amazon, I get this question a lot in the grocery group. Every item that's checked in, they enter the expiration date. So if you send in 20 items at one time, they're going to check the expiration date and enter it into the system for each individual unit. So if you send in 5 different ones, there's no rule that says you can't have mixed expiration dates sent in. They're supposed to check in each individual expiration date for each item, because every item is going into its own bin. We might have one M SKU and one FN SKU, which is the SKU written on those labels that you send in. But when they check them in, they might be going into dozens of different bins. So they're all matched to, those little boxes you see in all the videos. So in the end, it's on Amazon to remove it. Nowhere do they say you're responsible for removing an item before it expires. In the rules it says when it's 50 days from expiring, it will be removed. And that's what happens. Every week we have new items that are marked unfulfillable, and the reason is expired. So I believe it's after 60 days, they'll automatically throw it away. We have it sent to a nonprofit organization that, helps feed people. So, if you don't do it yourself, they'll do it, but it's happening. They're marking things as expired to us every week, so I know that it's working.
All right. So that also covers, Dawn, I hope that covers the next question that you had sent as well, whether or not they automatically send it back.
Yes. Amazon does not automatically send you back anything for any reason. What they do is they will automatically throw it away. Now, you can have all unfulfillable items automatically returned to you, which Amazon loves for you to do, because if it's damaged at the warehouse or damaged anywhere else, if it's marked unfulfillable, it's returned to you. You pay them to return it, the 50-cent standard fee, and they're going to, they don't have to reimburse you for anything because you had it removed. Do we make a new listing if the UPS number for the item, I'm assuming that's UPC, is the same product, but the label picture is different, but it's the exact same product? Okay, sorry, UPC. In this case, you really only have 2 options. The rules are very strict, and Amazon is very strict on this. What you send in has to match what the listing is. So that means the pictures, the size, the dimensions. Now, if that all matches and the UPC number is different, then I would send it in, because the UPC, they don't care about. It's only there to match things when people are searching or scanning on their phone. They want you to cover up every UPC number before you send it in. So if the UPC number is different, it's okay. If the picture is different, then it's definitely not okay, because it's not going to match the listing. So if it was just an updated photo, I've done a couple of different things. Sometimes I'll create a new listing. You know, if 20 other people are selling it already, I wouldn't want somebody else coming in and changing the picture on me, and then everything I have is wrong. So I would create a new listing if maybe it's just some merchant fulfilled items, or you know, you think that the product should be changed. You can open a case, and they'll sometimes they'll update it. Sometimes they just want you to update the picture in the listing, which you can also do. As long as you're a seller on that listing, you can update any of that information. And they have some kind of idea of how it works. So what they do is they decide how much ownership you have on that listing, and then they'll decide how much of that picture is going to be shown. So at the very minimum, when you list something and you have the buy box, your picture is going to show. Sometimes it'll just completely update the picture. I don't know how it works, and nobody probably really knows how it works. So they just, like everything else, they do it how they want. But at the very minimum, when you're on the listing, your picture is going to be showing, which is enough. And if you updated it, then you know you've done your part to make sure your picture is shown with your listing.
Right.
If you send in cereal with different expirations, how do you list them, or do you use the latest? Now, I'm assuming we're talking about a multi-pack. A multi-pack is always going to be the soonest to expire, or even a bundle. The expiration would be the soonest to expire. They prefer that you have everything together, you know, the same expiration date. So they want everything to expire at the same time, but it's not required. It's just, you know, how they prefer. But, you know, if you have one that expires in a month and one that expires next year, they're going to count it all as expiring at the soonest possible time. So, yes, you can list them together.
Diana, your previous question, I assume was about, do we have a list of questions on how to talk to liquidators? Like, how do we approach them? What do we ask them?
Now, are we talking about like a retail liquidator or just a big company liquidator? Because the big company, you know, I prefer to make phone calls over emails because you can have a better connection. You know, it's all about, you know, how you're dealing with the people. So if you just send an email, yes, you're going to get on their mailing list, but you want to have your own rep. So, you know, what we do is we call them up, you know, and I tell them that, you know, I sell on Amazon, and they usually know what that means. So what that means to me is, you know, everything that I buy has to be at least 100 days out from expiring. You know, it has to be in new condition. You know, if it's in beauty or health and personal care or grocery. And most liquidators have sold to Amazon sellers before, so they know all this. So, you know, basically I tell them that I'm an Amazon seller. You know, personally, I tell them I'm not afraid to buy a truckload if I have to. But, you know, you could be saying, you know, I'll buy several pallets at a time if I, you know, or whatever I need to buy to get the best deal. You know, and that's really all you need to tell them. Once you get something going with them, you can tell them exactly what you're looking for. But to get set up, you know, you need to give them very little information. You know, explain to them that you sell on Amazon. You know, tell them you're looking for a dedicated rep, because that person is going to call you every time they have what you want. So you always want to deal with the same person. You know, and that's at any business. If you're setting up a wholesale account or a liquidation account, or, you know, finding a manager that you can deal with, you know, at a store to get deals, you always want to deal with the same person.
They want to move product, so that's what's important to them. And if they think that you can contribute to that, you know, I mean, it doesn't hurt at all. You might find people that, you know, shun you away or don't want it, and then it just takes one person to say yes, and it can make all the difference. So,
you know, if you're buying from retail liquidation, like scratch and dent stores we've been talking about, it's you might find a few people who don't want to sell to resellers, but they're probably not the owner, so that's not the person you want to be talking about. I've coached up, just a couple of people who, liquidators were the owners and they just wanted to have nothing to do with a reseller, which is completely ridiculous because they should be trying to sell as much as they want. And most people just want to sell, as much as they possibly can. Managers of stores, liquidators, wholesalers, they're either trying to get their product out the door or they're making money for getting the product out the door. So you have to remember they all want the same thing. They want to sell things, and they're getting paid based on how much they sell.
That's awesome, Don. And just to kind of tie into Johnny's question from a while ago, he has a scratch and dent store within a couple hours drive, but it seems that everything's expired or within 30 days. So is it worth talking to them about whether or not they get non-perishable or longer date items?
Personally, I would not drive a couple hours for a scratch and dent store because usually you're only going to find a few products there. That's just the reality of it. Now, if you can go there and, if you can build a relationship pretty quickly, see if you can talk to the manager or the owner, then it might be worth it. If you're getting things that are within 30 days of expiring, they're probably not buying. There's different grades, and a lot of these places will buy things. If you never find anything in there and you're really looking and they're not, it's all expired 2 years ago, you can buy things that are like the cheapest of the cheap that have been sitting in a warehouse for years, and it's a lot cheaper. And those kind of stores might be getting that, but usually they're getting pretty fresh items because they want people to come back. Those are usually liquidators that are just, don't care. They're trying to get the cheapest thing and rip off everybody that they can. But if you're seeing things that are within 30 days of expiring, they probably have more that is what you need. There's a very common question that I get, it seems that everything in the store is expired, which is true. Every one of these stores that I've ever been into seems like everything in the store is expired. But the reality is that everything is not expired. You just have to look harder because a good portion of the store is selling things that don't ever expire, don't have expiration dates, or it's hard to find, I probably find not more than a half a dozen to a dozen at the extreme most of items that I can use. But when I can find them, they have huge, they might have huge volume of it. They could have a whole pallet of it or cases of it. And that's where you make money. And when they see you buy a pallet or cases or whatever you have, they know that you're serious about buying, and they're going to call you as soon as they get those products. So any opportunity to build that kind of relationship is worth it. It's, I don't know the business that you're dealing with, so, it might not be something that you could build that relationship with, but it's always worth a try. Dawn wants to know, meeting face-to-face, you end up with a better relationship. Yes, of course, meeting somebody face-to-face, you're always going to have a better relationship. Meeting somebody on the phone, you're going to have a better relationship. If you can go to a trade show, whatever you can do to build a better relationship. Everything in this business, it's the exact opposite of what people think. This business is all about relationships because those people are going to call you first. If they have a list of 1,000 people that have emailed them and 3 people have talked to them on the phone, they're going to remember the people that they talked to on the phone and they're going to call you first. Always make that phone call now, and it just pays you back so much more. And if you can meet them face to face, if you have a local trade show you can go to, or any kind of trade show or convention where it's going to have the liquidators or wholesalers or manufacturers, Get out there and meet with those people. Come prepared and show them that you're the person that they want to deal with. Was there any more questions, Vallerie?
I think we caught up on all the questions so far. So anybody else, you know, now or never, or not never, that's a little ridiculous, but now or for a few more minutes.
Now or ask us in the group, yes.
So, yeah, if you got questions, let us know. Sorry. Do you pay in full up front?
Do we pay for, what are we paying for, Diana?
Diana, are you referring to like pallets or
yeah,
big purchases?
No, buying from anybody, you're probably going to have to pay. Yeah, okay. So if you're buying a pallet, then yes, you know, for everything you have to pay up front, you know, in my experience.
And everybody has their own budget, Diana, you know. So, I mean, you got to work with what you're working with, what you have on hand and what you can do with before seeing the product.
Well, you know, go and see the product.
Yeah.
Is what I would say. You know, I used to say, don't ever buy anything without seeing it. But, you know, but now it's a little different. What I think is that no matter what part of the country you're in, there's some liquidators there. You know, I'm in Tampa, and there's literally nothing in Tampa. You would think it's a pretty big city. There's a couple in Orlando, which are not very good, but there are literally dozens in Miami. And I've gone down to Miami. I don't bring a tractor and trailer and take back a whole container full or bring back pallets. You know, if they have a small,
Sweet.
you know, if they have a small, some small lots, like I want to buy a box of cosmetics, or, you know, they have some small boxes, I'll take that with me, and I'll visit 10 different places sometimes, and I'll take their small amounts with me. And any pallets that I buy, I have them ship them. You know, every one of those liquidators, they're having trucks coming in, and they're having trucks going out. So, you know, don't be afraid to have it shipped. I mean, it might cost $100 or $200, but, you know, and you might spend a few hours going there, but you're going to know what kind of items they're selling, and you're going to know what kind of business they're running, you know, which is the most important part. You know, if they keep their word, you know, all you have is your word. And if you can't stand behind your word, then they're not worth doing business with. So if you go in there and you see a bunch of Legos on top of a toy pallet, and it's all junk in the bottom, you know not to do business with them, because they're placing it that way to take pictures or to show you.
Right.
So what I always suggest is you find places in your region, you know, if you ever spend a whole day or a whole weekend, go and check out a few of them, have them send the stuff to you on a truck, and you know what kind of business you're doing. If they're stand-up business people, if they're stand-up business people, then everything you buy is going to be about the same. You know, if it's junk, they're going to tell you it's junk, and, you know, buying junk is okay as long as you get it at the right price, as long as you can make your money, make your margins, whatever you need your margins to be. But they're telling you up front. And, you know, that's the kind of businesses that we deal with. Ones that we visited, ones that know, you know, ones that know what they're giving you. And they all know what they're giving you. Most of them just don't tell you.
You want to cover the selling on other marketplaces?
Yeah, I hate it. I hate selling on other marketplaces. Amazon is great. Of course, you know, I've tried a lot of the other ones and doing the multi-channel fulfillment on the other ones. But, you know, just selling one every 2 or 3 days just wasn't enough for me. I think Sam, you know, sold on a bunch of other ones too, Sears, and You know, we've done stuff on a lot of them, and it's just not worth it. eBay, we do. I have a 2-story warehouse, and I have another warehouse for storage. So the whole top floor of my warehouse is selling on eBay. I have somebody who works for me full time. He uses his own account. He pays for all the shipping and packing, and he does all that. He gets 40%. I get 60%. He uses his own account, as I said, and he pays all the fees out of that. So all my product is on site, and he just comes there, and you know, he lists and ships, and I don't have to do anything. And I think if it was any other way, I wouldn't do it. But compared to our Amazon business, it does not.
Okay.
You know, it's not even a drop in the bucket. It does pay for the fees, but that's about it. Now, if you want to do multi-channel fulfillment, I think things like Joe Lister is a great piece of software. You just log into your eBay account, you log into your Amazon account, and you select which items you want to sell from your Amazon account, and it lists them on eBay. And then, I mean, it takes seconds to do the multi-channel fulfillment. Just copy all the address information from eBay into Amazon, and you're done.
What I do best.
Well, Tom, yes, Vallerie is a good negotiator, and she's not on the other side. Luckily, she's on our side, and I'm not selling you anything, so you won't have to negotiate with me. Link to buy the book. We do have a code that I put in the beginning, so if you want to buy the book, you know, it's ACEMASTERMIND is the code. You get 20% off of the pre-sale. And if there's no questions, I think I'll wrap it up. You know, I'm in the mastermind group, of course, so if you have any more questions, just post it there. You know, if you want to join the group, let Vallerie or I know, and we'll put you at the top of the list. And thanks everybody for coming. We'll post a link to the replay in the group.